Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 102 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
And we had a really fun weekend we're going to talk about. I hope everybody out there had a good weekend too.
It was a beautiful weekend.
Yeah. What'd we do this weekend, Sam?
We spent the entire weekend, Friday through Sunday, vending at the Fredonia Farm Festival.
We did. Now, if you've never been to the Fredonia Farm Festival, it is not only a pretty great alliteration.
It is.
But it is definitely a small town affair.
It is.
With tons and tons of vendors.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be surprised. The Fredonia Farm Festival takes place right in the center of Fredonia in the Commons, and which is a relatively small park. But still,
I mean, I think for the size of the town, it's actually a pretty large park. It takes up like 2 whole city blocks.
Sure.
So.
But, compared to those living in cities that might have larger parks at their, immediate disposal.
Yeah, it's a pretty park.
It's very pretty. But it's relatively small. And I swear there must have been 50, 60 vendors.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Something like that.
A lot of vendors.
Yeah, a lot of vendors. Everything from charitable organizations to crafters to food vendors, all over the place. So this was our first time vending at the Farm Fest, and we had a great time.
Yeah, I had a really good time. And then on Sunday, there was a big parade.
There was.
And all the fire trucks from all the little towns all around here went down the street. And then the cable company went down the street. They were throwing stress balls and
I missed that.
And canned koozies out to people. And yeah, it was pretty cute. And then, of course, there was a marching band and some veterans marching, and a couple of young ladies in some dance teams came down the road. So, yeah, very small town charm kind of thing going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got started on Friday around 10:30 in the morning, and the fest didn't end until 6 p.m. Sunday.
This is true.
Yeah.
It was a lot of vending and a lot of festing.
It was.
But it was a good time. The weather was fantastic.
Well, Friday was a little sketchy weather-wise.
Yeah.
It had rained pretty hard the night before, so the ground was really soft, and it was misting for a lot of the day. And when you're selling knits, mist can be a little challenging.
Yeah, we had a bit of a time on Friday.
Yeah.
But that all turned around.
It did.
Saturday and Sunday were both cool and beautiful.
Oh, perfect days.
Yeah.
Like I kept telling Christine, this is perfect camping weather.
It was like
how are we not camping this weekend?
It was definitely that kind of weather where you want to like sit around a fire. You can wear a sweatshirt. And, yeah, it was nice. And of course, this wasn't a vegan event.
No, it was most certainly not.
Yeah, there were tons and tons of food vendors, almost all of them serving some sort of animal product.
Yeah.
We did manage to get to the curly fry booth.
Yes, we did.
This very lovely older couple were doing curly fries, hand cut as you order them, which was really cool. So we got like this mound of curly fries.
Yep.
Which were good.
Yep, those were our dinner on Saturday.
Yeah, we also got a bloomin' onion.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
those were the two things. The other vegan food that we managed to track down were some cinnamon roasted pecans.
Well, I got a couple of different kinds of nuts from the Bavarian Nut Company. They're out of Buffalo. I got their smoked almonds, their buffalo peanuts, which are very good. And I still have some of those left. And twice we got the cinnamon pecans.
Yeah.
So good. And they were roasting them on site.
Yes. So every now and again, we would just get this like wave of incredible cinnamon smell heading our direction. And we're just like, oh, they're doing a new batch of pecans. We should go get more pecans. They're warm.
They were really nice people too. We did not have sides for our tent. And we weren't prepared for that. And I'm walking around, I'm asking everybody, are you leaving all of your stuff overnight? And a lot of people were like, oh yeah, we just, we close the tent up and we leave everything here. I'm like, ooh, okay. Well, we didn't leave all the knits and stuff because moisture.
Yeah.
But I'm like, boy, that would be great if we had some sides. We can leave the tables and a bunch of other things that we don't need to schlep back and forth for, 3 days. Mm-hmm. And the gracious people at Bavarian Nut Company had extra tent sides and let us borrow them for the entire weekend.
So sweet.
They saved the weekend for us.
They really did. They made our Saturday and Sunday so much easier. Just because we didn't have to start from scratch every day with setting up. So that was really, really wonderful. And
super helpful.
That did teach us that the next time we do a multi-day event, and we have one coming up at the end of September, that we need some tent sides.
Yeah, so we'll get those ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was really nice of them. We met a lot of really nice people. Some of the vendors were really great. We were lucky enough to be planted right next to the Chautauqua. Was it the Humane Society? Chautauqua Humane
It was not Humane Society.
The Chautauqua Dog Rescue?
Yes.
Yeah, Chautauqua Dog Rescue. And so they had raffle baskets out and stuff like that, but they also had dog treats and bowls of water down for dogs. So every time a dog went by, we got to spend time with them. It was so fun. We met so many great doggos.
We did. It was serious dog watching.
Yep.
Yeah. And we both just got so excited every time there was a really amazing new dog.
We saw some really neat ones.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So cool. I mean, we had a couple of Irish wolfhounds. Yeah. And we had a couple of Great Danes.
Yeah. And Akita.
Mm-hmm. A few huskies.
Lots of little muddy dogs too. Like mutts.
A big Malamute. The teeny tiny miniature Pomeranian.
Oh my God. This lady had this. She was carrying this dog in those wraps that you carry babies in? Like a body wrap? And this tiny little softball-sized head.
Not even softball size. Maybe baseball size.
This tiny little orange head with ears was sticking out of it. And I'm like, oh my God, is that your dog? I wasn't even sure it was a dog at first. She's like, yes. And I'm like, can I touch your dog? Because he is so cute. Yeah. He really was small.
Yeah.
Super small.
The most ridiculously cute face I think I've ever seen on a dog.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the best behaved dog of the fest was by far Rosie the Schnauzer.
Yeah, people vending in a booth behind us had this little Schnauzer with them. She was a rescue Schnauzer, and she was so good. She had her own little chair, and she just sat there and watched things go by. All these dogs are, coming through. She didn't pay them any attention at all.
No, she was just happy to be there with her daddy.
Yep, very well behaved.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So that was fun. I was glad we were next to them. And if we do it next year, I'm going to request that they put us next to them.
So we get the equally good dog watching?
Yes. And on top of that, we also had some really good conversations about veganism with some of the people at that booth and other people that weren't from that booth.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything overtly vegan on our table.
Though
or anything.
We were wearing vegan t-shirts all weekend.
We're both always wearing some sort of vegan messaging on our t-shirts. Plus, we were both wearing our Toronto Pig Save
sweatshirts,
hoodies.
Yep.
So people knew, plus if I went up to a booth and they had food, I was obviously making it plain that I'm vegan. And is there anything that you have that doesn't have animal products in it? So we did have some good conversations, and I think it's good. You can't always just hang out with the vegans.
That's right.
Yeah.
So a good time was had by all.
Yeah, it was great. Sam's back to school now.
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
How's that going?
It's going great. Awesome returning students, awesome new students.
Yeah.
Just really good vibe so far this year. So, we're off to a good start.
That's good. I guess before we move on, I just wanted to mention where we're going to be next.
Yeah. So if you're looking to run into us at a fest of some kind in the near future, we will be at the Syracuse Veg Fest on Saturday, September 23rd. That is, of course, in Syracuse, New York. And then the following weekend, we will be at the Panama Rocks Foliage Fest. That is September 30th and October 1st.
And that should be a rocking good time.
That should be.
I hope the weather's good.
Yeah.
Because it's so beautiful up there.
It is just gorgeous up there. Yeah. Really looking forward to that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we've been up to over the last week. And hey, guess what? We finally have a recipe to talk about.
Yes, we do. Here's this week's Vegan Cookbook Challenge Recipe of the Week.
So this week I made a recipe out of Moby's book, The Little Pine Cookbook. modern plant-based comfort food. And this week I made, out of this book, their panzanella recipe. I've always wanted to make a panzanella. I've always wanted to eat a panzanella. Never had the opportunity to do so.
Me either. This was my first panzanella salad too.
Yeah. And it was delicious. Fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
All the words.
So good. So good. And so simple.
Well, panzanella is a simple thing. It's kind of peasant food.
Mm-hmm. Bring on peasant food.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's an Italian dish and probably came to be as a way to use up stale bread in the household. Mm-hmm. What you do is you get a nice crusty bread, cube it up, crisp it up in the oven a little bit, and then toss it in some olive oil and salt and pepper and some herbs. And then you add cucumber and tomato, and you make this marvelous Dijon vinaigrette. You let it sit for like a half an hour so that the flavors marry.
Right. And the bread absorbs the vinaigrette.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's like an amazing combination of textures.
It really is.
Yeah.
Textures and flavors.
Yeah.
Just fabulous.
Yeah. So these are recipes from Moby's restaurant in New York City that is open again, called The Little Pine. I would like to check that restaurant out sometime.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we need to make a trip to New York.
Yeah, we won this cookbook in a raffle.
We did.
At a fundraiser for Western New York Veg Fest, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it was in a raffle basket that we won, and I was kind of excited that it was.
I was super excited
that it was in there. Mm-hmm. And so these are all recipes from the restaurant, and they don't hold back. They give away all the secrets. Like the whole first chapter is recipes for all like the sauces and dressings that they use on everything.
Nice.
They're not keeping any secrets.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I highly recommend somebody get this book. Everybody get this book, not just somebody.
Everybody get the book.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to really digging into this, and I'm definitely making that panzella again. That was really good.
Panzanella.
Or panzanella.
Yeah.
Panzella?
Sure.
What the heck is a panzella?
I don't know. You said it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so if you are interested in getting the Little Pine Cookbook, we will, of course, link to that in the show notes.
Yep, per usual. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was good to get back into making a recipe.
Yeah. It was really good to get back into eating a recipe.
Yeah, and I wanted to make something a little more on the simple side because I'm a little wiped out from the weekend.
Yeah, we both are.
Yeah.
A little tired.
And I wanted to make something kind of lighter, too. Mm-hmm. Not something heavy because we did have, like a bucket of curly fries
on Saturday
and a bloomin' onion. So I wanted to make something a little lighter for us. So.
Well, it was fantastic.
I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to make that again.
Cool.
That takes us to our Noteworthy section. In our Noteworthy section, we're going to talk about the phrase got milk. Got milk has got to go. Left and right agree.
As I'm sure we're all aware, the left and the right agree on very few things, but apparently we've got one. Got milk. The other white meat. Beef. It's what's for dinner. The libertarian right and progressive left don't agree on much, but they are in lockstep regarding checkoff programs, the public-private partnerships that churned out all those familiar marketing slogans. In March, 5 lawmakers led in the Senate by Senators Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, and Cory Booker, Democrat of New Jersey, introduced the bipartisan Opportunities for Fairness in Farming Act. Yeah. Which would radically reform the program.
Yeah, we spoke about the OFF Act a few episodes back.
Yes. That bipartisan bill represents a broader movement with advocates across the political spectrum. For groups from Think Progress to the Heritage Foundation and Farm Action to Freedom Works, checkoff programs are a hallmark of the deep corruption they believe has permeated the American farm sector. These factions have very different ultimate goals for American agriculture. A government-backed green farmstead in the progressive camp, and drastic deregulation on the right. But for now, both agree the main problem in the sector is that the U.S. government has subsidized a wave of corporate consolidation in agriculture that has squeezed hundreds of thousands of farmers off the land. The checkoff programs began in the 1930s as a voluntary fee that farmers could opt into by checking off a box, which would direct a small sum from every purchase to market the specific commodity being sold. For example, the beef checkoff program currently receives $1 every time a cow changes hands. But in 1988, nearly 80% of producers voted to make those fees mandatory. This created a huge source of marketing funds overseen by elected bodies like the Dairy Board and the Beef Board that were responsible for running ad campaigns to promote eggs, beef, soy, or the 18 other checkoff commodities. Throughout the 1990s, these boards contracted with hybrid marketing and advocacy groups like Dairy Management, Inc. and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The checkoff programs, both progressives and libertarians believe, now represent a tax on all farmers, and one which often supports products, practices, and policies that are driving corporate consolidation in agriculture onward and forcing many of them out of business.
Yeah, so basically they're paying to have their own businesses be destroyed.
Yes.
Very unfair.
Yes. That's in stark contrast to what the program's proponents say they do, which is to neutrally promote entire industries. According to Representative Barry Moore, Republican of Alabama, checkoff programs have made significant, measurable strides in raising the level of demand and awareness for our farmers, ranchers, and foresters' products. But many farm groups argue that rather than raising demand in general, the checkoff programs in fact promote a very specific version of agriculture that leaves smaller farmers out. In the beef industry, for example, one group, the NCBA, a union of large ranchers and big meat packers like Tyson and Cargill, gets half of the entire pool of checkoff money, which pays for 70% of its operations.
Yeah. Like, how could they fail if they're getting 70% of their money from a checkoff program?
Right. And how can small farmers succeed when they're not seeing a proportionate share of that money?
Yeah.
Critics charge that the NCBA has also advocated against measures like mandatory country of origin labeling, which aims to keep cheaper foreign beef from undercutting U.S.-raised beef prices that have helped slash income for smaller farmers. They further argue that the NCBA-sponsored policies, like the push against mandatory labels, have helped drive the larger consolidation that drove 500,000 cattle farmers out of the business between 1980 and 2017. The NCBA, which has pushed instead for voluntary labeling, insists that it maintains a clear separation between its lobbying and marketing arms and that no checkoff dollars go to the former. But even if that's completely true, influence can be as fungible as money, says Angela Huffman, president of the farm reform group Farm Action. Huffman argued that the NCBA's posture as the preeminent voice on the Beef Board, which oversees the collection and spending of beef checkoff money, bolsters the organization's stature and reinforces its position as a beef industry advocate.
I'd like to mention the fact that where is or is there a checkoff program for produce farmers? Do you ever see ads on television for eat more broccoli or have some spinach? Like, there used to be ads for spinach back in the day with Popeye the Sailor Man, but that was like the 60s and 70s, and I haven't seen one since. Have you seen any ads for produce?
Well, I mean, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage here because we don't actually watch regular television with ads.
We don't, but those ads would also cross over into social media. They would cross over into pop-up ads on the internet. You never see anything.
I have never seen a pop-up ad for a fruit or a vegetable of any kind.
Yeah. And I have watched commercial television at like my sister's house, and I've never seen ads for, like, you do see ads for like beef and pork and
yes,
frequently milk products and eggs, but I've never once seen an ad that encourages people to buy any sort of produce.
Right.
It's interesting.
Right.
I just wonder if those programs exist for the produce farmers.
I don't think so, because produce farmers are not subsidized in the same way that animal agriculture farmers are.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there are some subsidies for certain products, for certain cash crops, like, for example, soy, corn, wheat, but mostly because the majority of that produce is going to feed livestock.
Yeah, but this isn't even a subsidy. This is money that comes from the sale of the product.
Yes.
So this is money that's coming directly out of a farmer's pocket.
Yes.
I just wonder why there aren't programs like this for produce farmers.
I don't know.
You know, it's interesting.
I can't answer
I want to look into that because I wonder if there are any similar programs. And if there are, why are they not really utilizing that money in the same way that the animal agriculture industry does?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, thought that was interesting and noteworthy.
It is indeed.
That brings us to our main topic. That's right. This week's main topic is another deep dive down the rabbit hole of the Reddit Vegan Am I the ASSHAT forum. We had fun with this the last time we did it.
We did, and we'd promised we'd revisit it, and so here it is.
Here it is indeed. So we're going to go over a couple of scenarios and discuss whether or not we think the original poster, is an asshat. And you can, make those determinations on your end too.
Sounds good. So the title of this one is, Am I the Asshat for Kicking Out My Vegan Daughter? My daughter, 16, went vegan a few months ago. She did it for animal welfare and also for environmental reasons. I'm quite a heavy meat eater, and I am divorced and share part-time custody with my ex. My ex has been a vegan for 5 years due to the environmental impacts of meat and dairy. I first accepted my daughter's veganism as I know it was her choice. I tried my best to use knife, fork, and spoon when handling salads at the table instead of touching them with my meat-contaminated hands. I found some great substitutes for things like cheese, chicken, and milk that she can have. However, when the virus pandemic started and it was linked to a meat market, my daughter became a bit more activist vegan. She began encouraging veganism on social media, making posts encouraging others to go vegan to stop virus epidemics, global warming, and for animal welfare. I did not have much of a problem with this until a couple of weeks later. At the dinner table one evening, my daughter told me that eating meat and dairy are all sorts of bad and asked why I had not given it up for the planet, for animals' sake, or for stopping pandemics. I told her I was not prepared to give it up yet, and I enjoyed eating it. I said I respect her decision and am proud of her for being concerned about these issues, but right now I do not want to give up meat or dairy. All fine, right? Wrong. She began yelling at me, telling me I'm selfish, inconsiderate of the planet, and risking my own health, and said a bit about the studies showing vegans get less cancer. I assured her that if I stay healthy through exercise and not smoking or drinking too much alcohol, then I'm sure I'll be able to live a healthy life. She went on a rant about having to breathe in dead animal when I cook meat. I told her to just eat her meal in peace. We finished, and afterwards she had another go at me. The next day, both lunch and dinner were pretty much the same as the day before. She kept going on about cruelty and how I was being selfish, contributing to pandemics. After dinner that day, I told her that I had enough of it, and if she did not stop, she could go and live with her mother. She said okay, and by tomorrow lunchtime, she had her bags packed and left. A few months later, I feel kind of guilty. I wonder if I dealt with it correctly. We have not really spoken much since she left. So, am I the asshat?
I want to say no, that he's not the asshat. He stated his position. I think the daughter went about it in the wrong way.
I agree.
Yeah. I think that she could have steered him in a more gentler way towards veganism. And I think she missed an opportunity to have really good conversations with her father instead of kind of just jumping down his throat about the fact that he was refusing to give up meat. So I don't think he's the asshat. I think giving her an ultimatum about moving in with her mother might not have been the best decision there. But I really do feel that she could have handled it better.
Absolutely. I mean, let's take into consideration a few things. Number one, the daughter in question is 16.
Right.
So we're not talking about an adult child speaking to their parent. So, there's going to be a little bit more room for drama, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so there's that to be taken into consideration, number one. Okay, number two, it's not that the daughter's perspective is incorrect. I mean, she's right that veganism is a potential solution to all kinds of things, global warming, animal cruelty, pandemics, et cetera, et cetera. Where she went wrong is her refusal to accept her parents', in this case, I believe her father's, choice not to go vegan. And it seems that the father is respecting her choice to go vegan. And so really that should just be a relationship of mutual respect. I don't agree with your choice, but I respect that it is your choice to make.
Yeah. I think that the daughter would benefit by looking into some outreach, educating herself about outreach and what works best with people and how to engage people in good conversations instead of inciting an argument, I did think it was funny that the father said that he did his best to use a fork and knife and spoon instead of using his hands to get salad out of the bowl.
I was actually confused by that. Completely confused by that.
I'm thinking that normally the dude just
reaches into the salad bowl, grabs handfuls of salad. Okay.
After he's been, I don't know, eating his ribs or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I thought that was funny. I thought that part was funny. But yeah, I don't think he's an asshat. I think he's got a teenage daughter, and that's hard.
Yeah.
First of all, in any situation. But yeah, I think she could benefit by educating herself on some better ways to do vegan outreach with people, especially family members. You know?
I agree with that.
So there you go.
So no, you are not an asshat.
Yeah, I don't think so. The next scenario we're going to read is titled, Am I the Asshat for Giving My Daughter's Vegan Friend Meaty Meals During Sleepovers?
I don't even need to read this. Yes.
Well, let's read it anyway, just for the fun.
Okay, but I'm saying yes, absolutely.
Let's read it, and then you can reiterate or see if your opinion has stayed the same. My daughter and her friend are both 12 years old and like to have sleepovers every now and then. The friend's family maintains a strict vegan diet where she isn't even allowed to drink milk. Her parents are nice people, although a bit on the neurotic side. She's a bright young girl, and she's a good friend to my daughter, but I noticed how much smaller and paler she is compared to my daughter. I think it's likely tied to her family's diet. So whenever she's over, I always make a big meaty meal for them. Last weekend, I made some cheeseburgers and steak for them on the grill with a big glass of milk. The friend absolutely loves it and always politely asks for more, which I happily provide. For snacks, I give them some of my venison jerky. For breakfast, I typically make a big plate of scrambled eggs and bacon, again with a big glass of milk. Despite her size, the friend always wolfs down whatever I make, and I have to say every time she leaves, it looks like she has a healthier glow. I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I think the friend is a bit malnourished. Nothing against vegans or anything. She knows she'll get in big trouble if she tells her folks. I think she fibs a bit to her parents about what she eats. Am I the asshat for letting my daughter's vegan friend eat meat?
I think you're an asshat for putting your daughter's vegan friend in a situation where she is essentially required to eat meat. Yes.
She's making it sound like the 12-year-old is happy to eat all the things that she's given. You know, we don't know otherwise.
No, we don't.
I don't appreciate that she's saying that the kid looks malnourished and pale and small.
Absolutely. Guess what? Some kids are small.
Yeah.
And some kids are fair-skinned.
Yeah.
And that does not mean they are malnourished by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Vegan or otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the friend is perfectly capable to make her own decisions. She is 12. She's not, a toddler or anything. And she probably could just say, no, I'm sorry, I can't eat that. So I feel like the person giving her these meals is definitely disrespecting their way of life.
Yes, absolutely.
By not talking to the parents about what she's feeding her daughter.
That's right.
And making it so that the daughter needs to lie.
Feels like she has to lie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you are making a big meaty meal for them simply because you feel that your daughter's friend is malnourished because her family sticks to a vegan lifestyle, yes, you are absolutely an asshat.
Yeah.
You are essentially imposing your point of view on this child.
Yeah, and I think if this girl's parents knew what was going on, she absolutely would not be going over there for dinner anymore.
I think you're probably right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really disrespectful of the parents and their way of life to do that, to give the kid meat and milk.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how she said that they're vegan to the point where they don't even let her drink milk.
Right.
Like there's different levels of being vegan,
Yeah. No, there's only one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, at the very least, I think you need to be upfront with the child's parents and say, whenever your child comes over, by the way, I make sure to feed her as many animal products as I possibly can because I believe that she's malnourished.
Yeah, have a conversation with the parents, I mean, I think it's really disrespectful that she isn't like, oh, okay, so this kid comes from a vegan family. She's vegan herself. Why don't I make some meals that she can eat? Why go the opposite,
right?
Polar opposite of
That's
that
right.
And try to give her as many animal products as possible in the time that she's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the asshat. So
Definitely.
You were right from the get-go.
Yes. Yeah. There's just no question about that. I mean, come on. Here's our next one. Am I the asshat for telling my son his grandma eats cow, not beef? My partner and I have been vegan for years. We have a 4-year-old son who eats the same things as us, so for now is also plant-based. We have always said that our goal will be to instill vegan values in him, but that ultimately, once he gets to the age where he starts to have more autonomy, he won't be punished or anything for choosing to consume animal products when presented with the opportunity. That will be his choice. Though, of course, it would be a secret bummer for us. But that's why we refer to him as plant-based rather than vegan, until he chooses that label for himself, basically. The rest of our family is not vegan, and generally doesn't try to be accommodating regarding that either. For example, my mother-in-law insisted on throwing a birthday party for my husband, but then mentioned the morning of that she would be serving pizza, cake, and ice cream, all non-vegan, and that we should bring our own versions to the party if we wanted to eat some. Which wouldn't have been unreasonable, except that it was a party she was throwing for my husband. Just little things like that. Anyway, last weekend we went to a barbecue at a relative's house. Per usual, we brought our own food, veggie dogs. My son was sitting on my mother-in-law's lap with his veggie dog, and she was eating a beef burger. She asked him if he wanted a bite. This is the first time I've seen her offer him meat. She wasn't trying to be sneaky about it. I think that by asking in front of me, she was testing the waters a bit regarding our earlier statements about him having the choice to eat animal products if he wanted to. He said, "Is it cow or veggie?" We eat plenty of veggie burgers, veggie nuggets, etc., so he knows to ask what things are made of. Mother-in-law says, "No, honey, it's beef." He said, "Beef?" She said, "Yes, it's good. Try a bite." I was sitting across the table and watching my son process her answer, which in my opinion was intentionally indirect, so I offered, "Beef is another word for cow." My son said, "Cow?" and pulled kind of a shocked face, which actually surprised me because he knows most other people eat animals, but he acted like this was unheard of. My mother-in-law gave me such a dirty look. My son did not try her burger, ate a few more bites of his veggie dog, and went to play. My mother-in-law got up and went inside, and I didn't see her for the rest of the barbecue. Later, my father-in-law called my husband, berating him for allowing me to drive a wedge between your mother and her only grandchild by making him think she is an animal killer or something. This is close to verbatim. That I can't keep him from eating normal food forever, and I should apologize. We don't think I did anything wrong. But my brother-in-law texted my husband also, said he thinks their parents are overreacting, but that I should not have been so specific about what beef is, and that it does seem like I was trying to throw my mother-in-law under the bus. Am I the asshat?
No, absolutely not.
Not even close.
No. And she does include some edits because of the responses that she got from people.
So the first edit she has is, they realize no one is checking this post anymore, but in case they are, thought we'd address two things. One, we have introduced our son to the words beef and pork before, but he is 4. And since they aren't regularly used in our house, I guess he forgot. 2, regarding his nutrition, before I made this post, I had no idea there were certain nutrients we get less of when we cut out certain foods. This is startling and alarming news to me. I immediately shared it with my husband, who also had no idea. Then I left an urgent voicemail for my pediatrician because I hadn't thought to tell her, or my OB during pregnancy for that matter, that our family followed any particular diet, even when she specifically asked me what our diet was like at home. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for bringing this shocking news that is rarely ever discussed when veganism is brought up to my attention. You have undoubtedly saved my child's life.
Now, I'm wondering if that second point, it seems sarcastic.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure she's being sarcastic.
I have a feeling she is, yes.
Yeah, that she's never heard nutrition discussed when mentioning veganism. Yes, definitely the whole thing is sarcastic. And absolutely
especially when she starts the whole post by saying, my partner and I have been vegan for years.
Yeah.
There's no way, if you've been vegan for years, that you are unaware that there is really a single nutrient that you need to supplement.
Yeah.
And because it's not readily found in plant-based foods.
Yes. And when feeding children, there are certain things that you want to make sure that they're getting.
Sure.
And I'm sure that they're aware of all of that. And she is in no way the asshat here.
No.
Yeah.
The child was genuinely asking what he was being served.
Yeah. And it seems like the mother-in-law was intentionally trying to fool him into eating a cow burger.
Yes. So I would say the mother-in-law is a bit of an asshat right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible to see something like this putting, a rift into a family, but hopefully she understands that it is their right to live that way, and it's their child's right to make his own decisions. And once he found out that it was cow, he didn't want it.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And the father-in-law's comment about, allowing the child to think that his grandmother is an animal killer. Well, the food that she eats is dead animals.
Yeah.
So she's not directly killing the animal. She did not slaughter that cow herself, but she paid someone indirectly to do it by virtue of purchasing the meat in the first place.
Yeah. It's interesting that the father-in-law is seeing it that way, that they're making her out to be a bad person. They're not making her out to be anything. They're making her out to be non-vegan.
Right.
So if you have guilt about that, or if you feel that because they're vegan and you're non-vegan, that you are automatically a bad person, then maybe that's something that you need to, look into.
That's right.
Within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that frequently comes up when veganism is discussed with non-vegans.
Yeah.
The whole idea that a lot of times non-vegans will feel the need to justify why they aren't vegan.
They always do. And I know, like, if we're at a festival or something, because a lot of times at festivals, even though people are serving you vegan food or food that does not contain animal products, a lot of times those vendors are not vegan themselves. And if I ask a vendor, and I often do, so are you vegan? I'll say, kind of cheerfully and whatever, because I like to meet fellow vegans.
Sure.
And if they're not, they immediately start apologizing.
Yeah. And
I'm like, look, no. You do you. I was just asking because I was curious.
Sure.
So yeah, it's definitely, it's a guilt that non-vegan people carry when they come in contact with vegan people.
Right.
So.
Yep. Absolutely. So, no, you are not an asshat for calling out your mother-in-law by rightfully naming beef as cow.
Yeah, she simply said beef is another word for cow, honey.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Undeniably
because
true.
He obviously didn't know what the word beef meant, or forgot, like she said, forgot that he had learned that word. So it wasn't even anything against the mother-in-law. She was purely explaining to him what the word meant.
Yes.
Yeah, not the asshat.
No, not at all. So we have, so far the count is 2 who are not asshats and 1 who most decidedly is.
Right.
Okay.
Our next scenario is, am I the asshat for making my brother's vegan girlfriend feel alienated at my engagement dinner? I recently got engaged and had an engagement party dinner this past weekend. I'm currently still receiving backlash from this and want to get some outside opinions if I was in the wrong. My fiance and I invited both of our immediate family and close friends to this dinner, about 30 people. The dinner was held at a nice Italian restaurant in my city. Our invites gave our guests the option to choose between a meat option and a fish option for their mains. It's important to note the only people in both mine and my fiance's family that have, I guess, food restrictions are my dad and my stepmom, as they are pescatarian. But a lot of people in our family love seafood, so the fish option was chosen more than the meat option. My younger brother contacted me about a week before the dinner to RSVP and asked if he can bring a +1, his new girlfriend. He chose the meat option. Now, my brother dates around a lot and is always bringing new girls around, so I wasn't aware that he was even in a relationship. I told him sure, and that I'd have an extra seat for her. The night of the dinner comes, everyone's having a good time. I met my brother's new girlfriend, and she seemed very sweet. When it came time to eat, she pulled one of the waiters aside and loudly asked him, "Is there any vegan options?" The waiter looked confused and said, "We have a fish and a meat option for the mains. I can offer you a salad and some roasted potatoes and other veggies as a substitute if you wish." The brother's girlfriend started getting mouthy with him and said, "Well, what if I don't want a salad? You just assume because I'm vegan, I only eat salads? What if I want some pasta? What kind of restaurant is this? This is discrimination." My brother started to try to calm her down, but she started going off on me, saying, "Why would you pick a restaurant that doesn't have vegan options? Many people are vegan nowadays. It makes me feel alienated that you couldn't even think to accommodate me." I explained to her that the only people that have food restrictions here are pescatarians, so that's what I considered when I chose the restaurant. I didn't even know she was coming until a week ago. The reservation had been booked a month ago. She started saying it's embarrassing on my part that I can't accommodate all my guests and called me small-minded. I told her, "I'm sorry I didn't think to accommodate you. I'll consider that in the future. Hopefully you'll be around long enough for me to be able to do that." She ended up leaving. My brother walked out with her and has been messaging me that I should apologize to her because I embarrassed her in front of everyone. I told him she embarrassed herself. My mom's also been on my case to apologize, to be the bigger person, and keep the peace. Am I the asshat for making her feel alienated?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, given, we only have his side of the story. Given this side of the story, I would say absolutely not.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, that she went into a situation knowing full well that there might not be options for her.
Well, the thing is, what gets me here is that the restaurant that was chosen for this engagement party dinner was chosen with the dietary needs of the known attendees taken into consideration. So I really don't think, especially when the restaurant is doing, a special kind of like, oh, this is this dinner, we're going to pick 2 mains, and maybe they picked several sides, and maybe they picked appetizers, as you kind of do for events like that.
It's pre-planned.
Right. And when that's done a month in advance, and then suddenly, just a few days before the party, you find out there's a new person being put into the mix.
Yeah.
Who has dietary restrictions that you were unaware of, obviously, because they're just now coming into the mix, and you can't change the menu at that point. So I really think that it's the vegan girlfriend who chose to put herself in a situation where she was essentially making herself feel alienated.
Yeah, she could have just accepted what the waiter...
The salad and the potatoes and the veggies. Like, I'm sorry, bring it on. Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, so I don't think that she was correct in accosting the waiter. I don't think that she was correct in saying that the restaurant's menu or policies was discriminatory in any way. That to me is absurd.
She seems unaware of how these pre-planned events work, that the menu is planned months and months in advance, and it's not like you're at a regular restaurant where they can just whip you up something, you know?
Yeah, so I think that the vegan girlfriend would have been much better off had she just accepted the waiter's kind offer to bring her a salad and roasted potatoes and vegetables.
Yeah.
It's perfectly simple.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it's not exactly what you wanted, but
it's an option.
It's an option.
Yeah.
And so roll with it.
Yeah.
So no, I do not believe the host of this dinner and the woman whose engagement was being celebrated was the asshat in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, he probably could have not hit her with that comment that, hopefully you'll be around long enough for me to be able to consider your...
I agree. Okay, so that was a little bit mean, but I'm sure under the circumstances, like you're trying to have your engagement dinner and all of a sudden this person that you don't know, who just happens to be like the current squeeze of your brother, right. Who's probably not going to be around for very long, comes in and starts making waves and making drama. Like, of course, you're not going to feel particularly kindly towards that person.
Right. She's giving vegans a bad name. That's what she's doing.
Yeah, she really is. So, no, I do not think you are the asshat. I actually think you handled the situation reasonably well. I mean, it didn't come to blows or anything, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't come to blows. Yeah, I mean, that option that the waiter offered her seemed perfectly reasonable to me. So
yes, absolutely.
In the under the circumstances. What do we have next? What asshat do we have next?
We have, am I an asshat for making my husband a vegan dinner, even though he's completely against becoming one? I'm already on no with this. I mean, completely, but let's see what the circumstances are.
Yeah.
I and my husband have been happily married for a little over a year now. We met through a mutual friend, and he learned very quickly that I am a vegan. About a year after we met and got closer, we started dating. He had no issues with me being vegan, but made it very clear that I couldn't force him into being a vegan, which I respected. I haven't ever put him down for eating meat in front of me, as that is his choice. To each their own. We even served both vegan and meat-inclusive food at our wedding to accommodate both of our families. Up till now, everything was great. However, recently I've been seeing a ton of vegan recipes on my Pinterest and decided I wanted to try making one for dinner. We don't usually end up getting to have fancy dinners at home as both of us work full-time, but I found some time today to cook something up. It was a recipe for pulled pork sandwiches, but the pork wasn't actually pork. Instead, it was jackfruit. He seemed a little stressed about work, but I showed him the surprise dinner, and that seemed to help his mood out. He ate it happily and even complimented my cooking. But when he asked what was in it, and when I told him it was a pulled pork sandwich with jackfruit as a meat alternative, he lashed out. He shouted, telling me that he made it clear he was staying a meat eater. I tried explaining that I wasn't trying to turn him into a vegan, but he just walked away. This happened a few hours back, and now he's refusing to talk to me. I feel like I might be the asshat for making him a vegan meal, even though he'd made it extremely clear he wouldn't become one. Because even if it wasn't my intention to make him one, I still made a vegan dinner that passed off as one with meat in it. So, Reddit, am I the asshat?
No, she's not the asshat.
Well, it's he.
Oh, he's not the asshat.
No, definitely not.
I have to mention that they're pretty young. They're in their early to mid 20s. Mm-hmm. And to get mad just because you ate a vegan meal seems extreme to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. And the author mentions in an edit towards the bottom that he didn't say it was a pulled pork sandwich. He did not represent the meal as being meat-based.
Okay.
All he said was that he made some sandwiches, nothing more and nothing less. Now, of course, I'm assuming that they ate the sandwiches together. So I think the carnivore of the pair should have realized when the vegan of the pair was eating the same sandwich that he was, that it didn't contain meat.
Right.
And if you're happily eating something, you're complimenting the chef, what does it matter if something is meat-based or plant-based? If it tastes good, if you're eating it and enjoying it, what's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't the normal response be, wow, I had no idea that that wasn't meat?
Yeah.
And it was really good, and thank you for making me this lovely meal.
Yes.
Not, hey, I told you I'm not going to go vegan. Stop giving me vegan food.
That's right. I mean, one vegan meal does not a vegan make.
Right.
I mean, we both have non-vegan families, and they will frequently share vegan food with us, particularly if they come up here to where we live. They know that we will not cook them
meat.
Yeah. And there will be no dairy.
Yeah.
End of story. They know that they're going to eat vegan when they're here. And they accept that, and they thank us for the meals and all of that good stuff. And we do our best to make sure that the meals are something that they will enjoy.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think you are an asshat by any stretch of the imagination. Your husband went a little bit off the deep end here.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, I think he also might not be very bright. He didn't realize that
let's not cast aspersions on someone's intelligence.
Well, I'm saying, how do you not realize that your vegan spouse is eating the same sandwich? And
maybe you just didn't notice. Maybe it just didn't click. It has nothing to do with one's intelligence. That's not fair. That is absolutely not fair. We do not get to say that someone isn't bright for not noticing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay.
So, no.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
But no, definitely not the asshat for making your husband eat a vegan meal.
No.
What do we have next? Let's see. Oh, am I the asshat for bringing meat to my sister's vegan wedding?
Yes.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I would have to say yes.
Yeah.
My sister is a hardcore vegan. Hardcore. She's a hardcore vegan. She's against all animal cruelty and suffering, and it is one of the main things I admire her for. I have 2 kids, Cassie and Chase. My sister's wedding allowed kids. I was very grateful for this, as I'm seen as the overbearing mom. I don't like to have babysitters since they're just randos who could do God knows what to my kids. But it also was made clear that it was a vegan wedding. Chase has been going through a phase where he picks one food and sticks with it for months. I have tried to offer him other foods he likes during these times, but he just wants his chosen item. If he doesn't get it, he ends up throwing a huge tantrum. I don't support his behavior and try to steer him away from it, but sometimes it gets tricky. His chosen food this time was sausage rolls. Knowing this, I knew that if he got fussy at the wedding, he would cause a disturbance. Cassie also tends to want things that her brother has, but usually gets sick of them after 2 to 3 weeks. Everything was fine until I got asked by my son if there were any sausage rolls. I had given him some and asked Cassie if she wanted any, but she declined as she had gotten tired of them fairly early. I still had a lot left over since combined they ate a truckload. One of the guests, a sister's friend Matt, must have seen this since he came over and asked me for one. I didn't think much of it and handed him one. I'm not sure if this is important or not, but not many of my sister's friends are vegan or even vegetarian. A few minutes after Matt had come up to me, 2 more people did, and I had declined this time because I felt it a little rude, but the friends left with an annoyed expression. My daughter had come back up to me after playing with the other kids and changed her mind and wanted some. I let her grab some, and then she ran again. My sister then came up to me and was glowing red. She started going off on me about how it was her wedding and how I couldn't just hand out non-vegan food to others since it was disrespectful. I tried to explain to her that it was just for my kids, but when she had told me that, no one else's kids are acting like this, and they're all fine with the food. Maybe if you were a better parent, Chase wouldn't be in this phase to begin with. Like I said earlier, I'm a bit of an overbearing mother, so when she had said that to me, I snapped. I yelled about how her closest friends didn't even like her food. Most of the food was prepared by her, and some other immature, hurtful things. I got up and left with my kids, arguing while we walked out. My sister has blocked me on everything, and our parents and friends are calling me the asshat for walking out on the wedding over something so small, and that I should just apologize. But until she takes back what she said about my kids, I'm making zero effort for her. So what do you think, Reddit? Am I the asshat?
See, now, to me, there seems to be more than one asshat in this story.
Right.
I agree with the bride that it is disrespectful of her sister to bring non-vegan food to a vegan wedding. If, as a parent, you know that your children will not be okay with that, then you don't bring the kids to the wedding.
Now, see, I don't have any problem with a parent bringing food for a kid at a wedding like this if they know there's not going to be anything there that they'll eat. I have no problem with it. The fact that she seemed to bring a giant bag of sausage rolls and she was handing them out to people.
Yeah,
that's just strange.
That's going a little far.
Like, bring a couple sausage rolls for the kid, but why do you have a giant bag of sausage rolls?
Right.
That's just weird.
That seems a bit odd. So, okay, even if I concede the point, a parent bringing something for their children, okay, fine, I can go for that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. But then handing out the non-vegan food to other guests upon request, I think that's going a bit too far. But I do think the bride handled the situation badly too.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. It would have been much more reasonable to say, this is a vegan wedding. This is very important to my spouse and I, we would really appreciate it if you could not hand out vegan food to the other guests. We understand that, it's necessary for your children at this point. We can let that go. But, really we would appreciate you kind of, keeping this to a minimum. Yeah. That would have been much more reasonable.
Yeah, I think the whole situation could have been better dealt with if they just didn't deal with it there at the wedding.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
Like, okay, I see my sister's handing sausage rolls out to my wedding guests. I'm probably going to talk to her about that when I get back from the honeymoon because that was wrong of her.
Yes.
But why ruin your own wedding?
That's an excellent point there.
By starting something over a sausage roll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And calling her a bad parent and all that jazz is. Yeah, it seems like they may be prone to drama.
It looks that way. And so I would go with there is a full asshat here, but it's each sister is half of the asshat.
Right.
They're one cheek each.
Right. We had a one cheeker last time.
Yeah, we did. So I would say it's a one cheek per side. And she snorts.
Just don't bring a purse full of sausage rolls to your sister's
to a vegan wedding. Yeah. That's, what? I think that's just a really good philosophy to live by.
Yeah.
Don't bring a purse full of sausage rolls to a vegan wedding.
Yeah, unless they're vegan sausage rolls. We've had some really good vegan sausage rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap this up with our last Am I an Asshat?
So here we have, am I the asshat for calling my girlfriend out on not being a vegan in front of her friend? My girlfriend has a vegetarian diet. For as long as I've known her, she's been a strict vegetarian, no meat at all. If we go to a restaurant and there's complimentary soup, she doesn't hesitate to flat out ask if there are meat products in the broth. Back in December, she met someone new where she works, a younger girl by the name of Sheila. Sheila is a vegan and doesn't even want to be around a place where cheese might exist. She's been chatting with my girlfriend, Michaela, frequently. And Michaela apparently has been telling Sheila and other workmates that Michaela is a vegan. She's gone so far as to put on Facebook ridiculous posts such as, loving my vegan lifestyle, salads for lunch, being a vegan is great. The whole time she's making these comments, I'll see her eating cheese, drinking milk, etc. She's still keeping with her vegetarian diet, but is definitely not vegan by any stretch of the term. I've pretty much tried to ignore it, even though it's been a little annoying hearing her talk about it, but I snapped yesterday at our Easter dinner, which Michaela insisted be held at our home. Michaela invited Sheila, who I honestly didn't like, because when she was looking at the dinner spread, she made comments about Michaela putting up with so many animal products, and I'd had enough. So, when Michaela and Sheila struck up a conversation in which Sheila proceeded to insult our food once again, I interrupted, saying that it really isn't a problem for Michaela, given that she's not a vegan. In fact, I watched her eat an omelet just this morning. Michaela began to deny it and claim that I was lying, but Sheila looked a little upset that Michaela had been lying to her. It's genuinely lost on me how a person can get upset over their friend eating an egg, but then again, I'm not on a diet. Long story short, Sheila is mad at Michaela for faking veganism for months, and now Michaela is upset with me because I should have kept my mouth shut. Am I the asshat for calling out my girlfriend on not being a vegan? Brief update. I talked to Michaela today and asked her what was going on and why she felt the need to lie about it. I told her I was sorry for upsetting her and causing an uncomfortable situation between her and a friend. She told me that she genuinely liked speaking to Sheila, and while she hadn't expected her lie to get as far as it did, she wanted to gain a bond or friendship with Sheila. Apparently, though, Sheila hasn't spoken to her outside of work-related topics.
I don't think the boyfriend is an asshat.
Not at all.
I think maybe he shouldn't have called her out in front of everybody, but come on, the girl was blatantly lying and saying she was vegan.
Yes.
And posting that, that she was vegan when she obviously was not.
Right.
And I think, like he said, he just was fed up with it. Mm-hmm. He probably definitely could have handled that a little better.
Sure.
Maybe pulled her aside and said, hey, I think you should stop lying to your friend.
This is not cool. You need to stop lying to your friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's clear to me from this story that, Michaela is just lying because she wants Sheila to like her.
Yeah.
And, feels that perhaps because Sheila is vegan and Michaela is vegetarian, that Sheila will look down on her for not giving up eggs and dairy necessarily.
Right.
And so with this, I do agree that the boyfriend could have handled it a little bit differently. I also understand him being fed up with the lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would definitely not call him an asshat, but I would encourage Michaela in this situation, just be who you are. If you're vegan, great, fine, own it. If you're vegetarian, great, fine, own it. If you're a carnivore, great, fine, own it. There's no need to lie about it.
Yeah.
So no asshat here. Although, perhaps a half cheek for Michaela for lying about her veganism.
I think Michaela is a full-on asshat.
Okay, then.
In my opinion, she's a full-on asshat. To lie to a person, you want to be friends with someone and your friendship's completely based on a lie.
Yeah, that's not cool.
And then to not only just be lying to one person, but to be making posts on your social media about how you love the vegan lifestyle and all that. And this girl is obviously so far from a vegan.
Yeah.
She's, the fact that she doesn't even seem to understand what the philosophy is behind veganism.
Sure.
That she just thinks it's a cool lifestyle and that she wanted to hang out with this girl because she thought she was cool too. I think Michaela is a full-on asshat.
Yeah. The boyfriend, on the other hand, no.
No, I don't think so. And I would have loved to have been in the room when he said, I just saw her eat an omelet this morning.
That would have been kind of fun.
Yeah, I think I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for this whole scenario.
Yeah.
Would have been slightly entertaining. Yep, so that wraps up this episode of Vegan Reddit's Am I an Asshat? You'll have to let us know what you feel about those scenarios, whether or not you think those people were in the wrong or in the right, or how you would have handled the situations differently. There were some good ones in there, I think.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
That brings us to our 72 reasons to be vegan.
This week's Reason to Be Vegan, of course, comes from 72 Reasons to Be Vegan, Why Plant-Based, Why Now by Jean Stone and Kathy Freston. And this week, I don't have my usual connection into our podcast content, but that's all right.
Yeah, they can't always connect.
And so this week, we've got reason number 65, which is wildlife is killed to protect animal agriculture. We seriously wish this were a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, but there actually is a little-known branch of the United States Department of Agriculture dedicated to killing wild animals, many of them endangered, just to protect other animals that are raised to become food. Wildlife Services, a bit of an oxymoron considering what they do, spends millions of our tax dollars every year setting leg traps and neck snares, spreading poison, dispatching hired guns in helicopters, and training dogs to tear apart whatever wildlife might be deemed a threat to livestock. Raccoons, beavers, great horned owls, eagles, coyotes, bears, foxes, and countless other creatures get caught in the traps and die slow, agonizing deaths. In 2016 alone, Wildlife Services admitted to killing over 1.5 million native animals nationwide. Animals who were simply going about their lives, grazing, hunting, and wandering as wild animals do. This is how it happens, as PETA explains. The animal, a coyote or bear or raccoon, for example, steps on the steel jaw trap spring, and the trap's jaws slam shut, clamping down on the animal's limb or paw. As the animal struggles in excruciating pain to get free, the steel vise cuts into his or her flesh, often down to the bone, mutilating the leg or paw. Some animals, especially mothers desperate to return to their young, will even attempt to chew or twist off their trapped limbs. Animals often struggle for hours, sometimes days, before they finally succumb to exhaustion, exposure, frostbite, shock, and death. The traps are set for wild animals, but they snare neighboring dogs and cats, too. So here we have an army of trappers and aerial shooters using our tax dollars to exterminate millions of wild animals every year in order to protect a rancher's revenue-generating cows and lambs. Those same cows and lambs can then be slaughtered for meat. A high price to pay for a burger.
That's terribly sad. The trapping and all that.
Yes, it is.
Let's move on to something lighter. It's time for our favorite segment of the show.
That's listener shout-out time.
Just want to give a shout-out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's listener shout-out goes to Colleen Nolan Mayberry. Colleen is an elementary school teacher, a vegan, a mother, an animal lover, a music lover, and an active member of her vegan community. Thanks for listening, Colleen.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and contact us with your t-shirt size and address so we can send you a CNC swag bag. You can give us that information by emailing us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram or Facebook.
That brings us to this week's housekeeping. As usual, we want to try your favorite vegan recipes, and we want to include them in our listener recipes segment. So email or DM us the vegan meals you love to make. We'll try them out and feature them on the podcast.
Yeah, I need your recipes. Send them in. Here's some things you can subscribe to, because subscribing to things is fun. Our YouTube, our newsletter. You can subscribe to our weekly newsletters. You can join our Patreon, become part of our Patreon community, and gain access to all of the recipes that we make from our Vegan Kitchen series.
You can also find us on Happy Cow. If you'd like to know what restaurants we've been to and what we thought of them, go ahead and find us on the Happy Cow app. You can find Christine under Compassion and Cucumbers, and you can find me at CNC Vegan.
We have a fundraiser at our Buy Me a Coffee site. It's for Food Empowerment Project. That's at buymeacoffee.com/cucumbers. If you don't know, Food Empowerment Project seeks to create a more just and sustainable world by recognizing the power of one's food choices. They encourage healthy food choices that reflect a more compassionate society by spotlighting the abuse of animals on farms, the depletion of natural resources, unfair working conditions for produce workers, and the unavailability of healthy foods in low-income areas.
Want to get a listener shout out like Colleen did today? Then send us a DM or an email letting us know you listen to the show and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, you can follow Sam's Etsy site and get your hands on some of the great stuff that we were vending this weekend at the Fredonia Farm Festival. She's got beautiful knit scarves, and handmade jewelry and bead art. It's all vegan, and she makes it all with love.
Leave us a review on your podcast app if it allows. And if it doesn't, share the show with a friend or family member that you think would enjoy what we do. Also, you can share our social media. It's the easiest way to support us or any content creator, and it costs you nothing at all.
And finally, join the AFA Vegan Voter Hub and give to them if you can. The Agriculture Fairness Alliance is lobbying on our behalf so that our vegan voices are heard. If you want to make real change on the upcoming Farm Bill in Washington, please join the Vegan Voter Hub.
And that's it. It's sign-off time. You just listened to episode 102 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. There's nothing left to say, but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion on the podcast.
Thank you, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
Bye.
The end.
If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, well, you can do that by hopping on over to our Patreon page and becoming a patron. We have all the recipes from our vegan kitchen series up there, and we'll be adding some patron-only episodes in the near future. So thank you for supporting us at whatever level that you choose, and thank you again for listening to Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.